We shift now to this story where 47% drop in 18 and 19-year-olds registered to vote is a cause for concern. The Institute for Security Studies, that's the IAS, has found that youth participation in politics and voting depends on how satisfied they are with democracy and the performance of political parties in addressing the socio-economic challenges that they face. Well, to tell us more about the study, we are chatting to one of the researchers, Michelle Roberts. Good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Just to start off, when was this research done with the young people of South Africa?
Okay, good morning, and good morning to everybody who's watching. So the Institute for Security Studies did research regarding the 2014 and 2016 elections, as well as last year regarding the 2019 election. So we've ran about 2 sets of research projects dealing with about 2,209 young participants, focusing on the 2014 and 2016 and 2019 elections.
Now, the biggest drop was for the registration for the 2019 voters roll at 47% drop. What did you find has led to this drop? What did the young people tell you?
Okay, so I think important to identify firstly is that we're seeing global drops in young people's participation in politics and the electoral process. So what we found in the research that we did is while a number of issues came up, 4 of the main issues that came up was unemployment, and not necessarily just unemployment as it stands, but young people have been interacting with the electoral system through their families, through their communities. They've seen the electoral process. However, they don't see an improvement in the unemployment situation or the improvement of socio-economic opportunities in their community. So that is one of the deterrent factors as to why young people would either protest or participate in elections.
Yeah.
Secondly, we also found...
Okay, carry on, Misha, sorry, carry on, yeah.
Okay, so secondly, we also found that the access to fee-free quality higher education was quite problematic with young people. While we know that a higher education has been made free, there's a lot of conditions that young people are still struggling to come to terms with, and that is the competition to access this free resource, also the conditions of this free higher quality education, such as how long will it last, who's excluded and who's included. We also found issues with corruption in the community, and not only the revelations of state capture, which affects how young people perceive politics, but also how they interact with corruption in their communities, how local ward councillors are perceived to be driving fancy cars, however, not necessarily responding to the needs of the community. And then another finding that came up quite a lot was the access to service delivery and infrastructure. So access to things like electricity, water, and housing was quite problematic with young people, as well as the access to free or affordable transportation systems for them to actually engage with other communities and to reach employment outside of their community.
Yeah, about last week I interviewed a politics professor from the University of Johannesburg, Mdletsana. He was sitting in the studio, and I asked him, in his lectures as a politics professor, what are the students telling him? What do they feel about the country? And he said largely very disappointed. They feel a bit disaffected because the levels of trust in government are low, and they are disappointed about the levels of corruption, for example. Did you find that as well in your research, Michelle?
Yes, we found quite often that young people, while they aren't apathetic, young people are engaging with political processes outside of formal democratic politics. However, they do feel de-alienated, and they do feel alienated from society and from the voice of politicians because they aren't included necessarily in the policies that political parties and political leaders are pushing forward.
Okay, now, what could be done, in your view? What are the young people telling you would enable them, for example, in their droves to go and register actively for elections? What could change their mindsets?
I think what could change young people's mindsets is if they understand the power that they hold, especially in these elections with about 20.1% of young people registered to vote. So if those 20.1% of young people actually vote these elections, we can see a dramatic shift in the political landscape of the country. We could see either a strengthening of the ruling party in government, we could see the strengthening of opposition, or we can see the influence of smaller parties coming to the fore as well. I think young people need to understand that there are drives. The Electoral Commission of South Africa has made quite an effort to include them, and I think what could happen is the IEC can encourage younger people to become more engaged in the system. So not necessarily looking at older teenagers, but also looking at school drives to get young people more engaged in politics before they actually start engaging with the system.
Thank you very much, Michelle Roberts, one of the researchers from the Institute of Security Studies, IAS, just telling us what their latest research has found about the levels of disaffection by young people. I mean, 47% drop in the number of those who registered for this year's elections compared to previous elections can be concerning.
Yeah.